She disappeared in under 2 minutes. No noise, no struggle, no warning. One moment, she was playing on the floor. The next, she was gone. Police searched every corner of the street. Dogs lost the trail. Helicopters circled the sky. Her father walked into a silent house and felt his world collapse. But the most terrifying part? The person who knew exactly what happened was still standing inside the family, and no one suspected a thing. In 2012, the south side of Chicago held a small neighborhood that most people never noticed. It didn't make the news. It didn't show up on postcards. It didn't feel dangerous. It felt safe. Maplewood Lane was quiet. The houses were close together. The people knew each other's routines. Kids played outside. Parents watched silently from kitchen windows. Nothing bad ever seemed to happen there, until Amelia James disappeared. She was 2 years old, small, quiet, curious. On the morning of April 17, 2012, Amelia sat on the living room carpet, stacking plastic blocks while the soft sounds of cartoons filled the room. Her mother, Rachel James, moved between the kitchen and the hallway, folding laundry, rinsing cups, moving through the motions of an ordinary morning. The front door wasn't locked. In that neighborhood, it never was. At 11:02 a.m., Rachel stepped into the kitchen. At 11:04 a.m., she came back. Amelia was gone. At first, Rachel thought Amelia had wandered into another room. Kids wandered all the time. She checked the bathroom, then the hallway, then the bedroom. "Amelia?" she said softly. No answer. Her voice grew tighter. "Amelia?" Nothing. Then she noticed the front door. It was slightly open. Her heart dropped. She ran outside barefoot. Amelia wasn't on the porch. She wasn't in the yard. She wasn't sitting on the driveway. The street stood still. No crying. No movement. Just silence. Rachel screamed. Neighbors came running. Someone called 911. Daniel James received the call at work. He didn't understand the words at first. "She's missing" didn't feel real. He left without saying goodbye to anyone. He didn't clock out. He didn't grab his jacket. He drove too fast. When he reached the house, police cars lined the street. Red and blue lights filled the air. Neighbors stood in groups, whispering. He parked badly. He ran. No one stopped him. Inside the house, everything looked normal. The TV was still on. The toys were still on the floor. The half-folded laundry sat on the couch. His daughter was gone. He stood in the doorway and felt his body go numb. "Where is she?" he asked. No one answered. Rachel sat on the floor, shaking. "She was right here," she kept whispering. "She was right here." Daniel dropped to his knees. He didn't cry. Not at first. He stared at the floor. He picked up Amelia's small sock that had fallen near the couch. It still smelled like baby powder. He held it as it might disappear too. That was the moment he understood something was very wrong. The police didn't treat it lightly. Not for a second. A missing child was not normal. Officers secured the house as a scene. Yellow tape covered the front door. Gloves were pulled on. Notes were taken. The home was searched inch by inch. They checked the windows. They checked the locks. They checked every bedroom, closet, and cabinet. There were no signs of forced entry. No broken glass. No overturned furniture. Just absence. The front door, being slightly open, stood out. Officers photographed everything. Rachel's phone was taken as evidence. Security cameras from nearby houses were requested. They began canvassing the neighborhood. By afternoon, the quiet street became crowded. Police officers, search dogs, volunteers, news vans. The illusion of safety was gone. Officers knocked on every door. "Did you see anyone? Did you hear anything unusual? Did any car drive by slowly this morning?" Most people said no. One neighbor remembered hearing a car door slam. Another spoke about a woman walking further down the street. None of it was clear enough. Search dogs were brought in. They sniffed Amelia's blanket. They paced through the house. They circled the yard. They stopped at the driveway, then on the road, then nothing. It was as if her trail vanished in the air. Officers searched alleys, garbage bins, parks, abandoned lots, drainage areas. They looked everywhere, and they weren't slow about it. This wasn't a slow case. This wasn't a lazy investigation. This was serious. This was urgent, because a child was missing, and the clock was ticking. Daniel and Rachel were separated for questioning, not because they were suspects, because police needed clarity, routine, necessary, painful. Daniel sat in the dining room with a detective. "Tell me about your morning," the detective asked gently. "I went to work," Daniel said. "Like always, my wife stayed home. My daughter was fine." He thought about Amelia's laugh that morning, her tiny hand holding his finger. "Be good for Mama," he had told her. Now the words felt wrong and heavy. Rachel's interview was harder. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "I was only gone for a minute," she cried. "Just a minute." The detective believed her. That made it worse, because it meant someone had been bold enough to act fast, and quiet, and close. By nightfall, helicopters hovered above the block. Floodlights brightened the dark. Search teams spread into wider areas. People no longer whispered. They watched, closed their doors, locked their windows. Parents held their kids tighter. The street that used to be safe now felt watched, felt broken, felt wrong. Daniel stood outside under flashing lights. He watched the police work. He watched strangers walk in and out of his home. He didn't feel real anymore. Nothing did. Inside the house, Amelia's stuffed bunny lay where she had dropped it. No one moved it. No one touched it. It stayed exactly where she left it, waiting, just like they were. Long after the sun went down, the search didn't stop. No one said the word hope, but they all felt it. Weak, fragile, fearful. Daniel sat on the front steps. Rachel sat beside him. No talking, no crying, just breathing. Because crying would mean accepting something they weren't ready to accept. In the distance, dogs barked. Radios buzzed. Footsteps moved through tall grass. And somewhere in the darkness, the truth was already hiding. But in 2012, nobody knew that yet. All they knew was this: a little girl was gone, and nobody understood how. 3 days after Amelia James disappeared, the house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a crime scene that people slept inside. Every sound became suspicious. Every knock felt dangerous. Every silence felt too loud. Daniel barely slept. Rachel barely spoke. Outside, the search grew larger. Inside, something else was happening. Something quieter. Something no one noticed. Detectives stopped treating the case like a simple disappearance. This wasn't a wandering toddler. This wasn't an open gate. This wasn't a child lost in the backyard. This was calculated. The front door had not been forced open. Nothing was stolen. No struggle. No noise. That worried them the most. Detective Laura Collins took over the case on the 4th day. She was calm, serious, focused. Her first thought wasn't about strangers. It was about proximity. Someone close to this child had to know the routine, she told her team. Who knew when Rachel stepped away? Who knew the door wasn't locked? Who felt comfortable walking into the house? They made a list. Neighbors, babysitters, family. That last word stayed in everyone's minds longer than they wanted to admit. Margaret James arrived that afternoon. Daniel hadn't called her. He wouldn't have. Rachel noticed her car before she heard her voice. She walked into the house slowly, calm, neatly dressed, controlled. She hugged Daniel, not Rachel. Hugging Rachel had never felt natural to her. "I came as soon as I heard," Margaret said quietly. There were no tears in her eyes, just tight concern. She looked around the living room. The toys, the blanket, the stuffed bunny. "She must be found," she said. Her voice never shook. Detective Collins watched her from the corner of the room. She didn't interrupt. She made a note instead. Rachel felt it. She always had. Margaret never liked her. Not openly, not loudly, but clearly. The small remarks, the judgmental looks, the polite distance. Margaret believed Rachel wasn't good enough for Daniel. She never said it directly. She never had to. Now she sat at their kitchen table drinking tea as if she belonged there, as if her presence was normal, as if her thoughts were harmless. Detective Collins asked Margaret a few questions. "When was the last time you saw Amelia?" "2 weeks ago," Margaret replied smoothly. "At lunch. Did you notice anything strange?" "No. She seemed fine. Too calm. Too neat. Too ready." On the 5th day, investigators found something. A neighbor's security camera. Not on the James house itself, but down the street. The footage was grainy. Not clear. Not perfect. But something was there. At 11:03 a.m., a light-colored sedan drove slowly past the house. It stopped. The brake lights flickered. Then the car moved again. The camera couldn't capture faces, couldn't capture license plates, but what it captured mattered. The car returned again 10 minutes later. That was strange. That was deliberate. Detective Collins paused the footage. She watched it again and again. Someone wasn't lost. Someone wasn't careless. Someone was watching. The K9 unit returned. They tried again. Different scent articles, different routes, different handlers. Nothing. The dog stopped at the road just like before. No trail. No confusion. No mistake. Whoever took Amelia had a vehicle and knew how to use it fast. That narrowed it down, but also made it scarier. This wasn't sloppy. This wasn't emotional. This was planned. Rachel hadn't slept in days. Night made everything worse. During the day there were people, noise, questions. At night there was nothing. Nothing but echo. She sat in Amelia's room and ran her fingers over tiny clothes. She smelled them. She folded them over and over again. She whispered her daughter's name into empty air. Somewhere between pain and exhaustion, she began questioning herself. Did I lock the door? Did I check the hallway? Did I see someone? She couldn't remember clearly. Memories blurred when fear filled them. That scared her. Not remembering scared her. Detective Collins noticed, and still believed her. That made things worse, because it meant Rachel wasn't lying, which meant someone else was. Daniel walked the street every night, alone. He stared at street corners, at parked cars, the faces of neighbors. He wondered how he missed it. How did he not feel it? How did he not protect her? A father was not supposed to fail. That thought carved into him. He felt eyes on him sometimes. Not real ones. Imaginative ones. Paranoia. That's what missing children do to parents. They don't just disappear. They take peace with them. Detective Collins called Margaret in for a formal interview. This time the tone was different. Polite, but firm. "Can you walk me through your day on April 17th? She asked. Margaret didn't hesitate. "I had breakfast at home," she said. "Watched the news. Then went shopping." Her answers were clean, organized, rehearsed. Collins wrote it down. "Anyone with you?" "No. No timeline gaps. No visible lies. Just polished calm." That worried Collins more than panic ever could. That light-colored sedan became an obsession. Witnesses were brought in. Photos of similar cars are shown. Most people weren't sure. Some thought it was white. Some thought it was silver. Memory twisted truth. One neighbor thought the driver might have been a woman. Not certain. Just a feeling. Detective Collins filed that away. A woman and a car. These weren't random details. They were pieces. And the picture they were slowly forming was uncomfortable. 1 week later, a call came in. A clerk at a gas station reported seeing a toddler alone with a woman who seemed nervous. The description matched Amelia, slightly. Daniel and Rachel rushed to the station, hearts racing, hands shaking. They saw the footage. They saw the child, and they knew it wasn't her. Hope collapsed. Again. Police apologized, but apologies felt useless. Hope and pain became brothers, always arriving together. Back at the James house, nights grew heavier. Rachel began closing every door obsessively. Every lock, every window, every chain. Daniel started checking outside noises. Every time, nothing happened, but fear stayed. And miles away, someone was living a normal life, breathing normally, sleeping peacefully, knowing more than they were letting out. Not because anyone accused them, not because anyone knew, but the truth was sitting quietly in plain sight, waiting. By 2014, the house on Maplewood Lane no longer felt like a place where children had lived. It felt like a museum of pain. Everything stayed where Amelia left it. The small shoes by the wall, the drawings on the fridge, the faded cartoons paused on the same channel. But the people inside had changed. Rachel and Daniel no longer spoke the way they used to. They no longer sat on the couch together. They no longer touched. They existed in the same space but lived in separate worlds. Because grief doesn't always make people stronger. Sometimes it breaks them. In the beginning, they told each other it wasn't anyone's fault. At least out loud. Behind closed doors, thoughts turned dark. Rachel started wondering if Daniel should have installed better locks. Daniel started wondering why Rachel ever stepped into the kitchen that day. Neither of them said it, but it lived between them. In the silence. In the way they avoided each other's eyes. In the way they slept on opposite edges of the bed. Search efforts slowed. News stations stopped calling. Detective Collins moved to another case. The department still kept Amelia's file, but not on their desks anymore. Now it sat in a metal cabinet, pulled and used. In the second year after Amelia vanished, everything collapsed. The house felt too quiet. The air felt too heavy. Daniel stopped coming home early. Rachel stopped cooking. They sat at the table one night. No TV, no music, just silence. "I can't keep living like this," Rachel said softly. Daniel didn't argue. He understood. They both did. They signed papers. They divided the furniture. They avoided talking about the only thing that really mattered. The house was sold. The street moved on. But they didn't. Inside the police department, Amelia's case changed status. Not officially closed. Not forgotten. Just quieted. Leads were gone. Witnesses had moved. The footage was outdated. The mysterious sedan never had a license plate. The woman in the car never had a face. Detectives still remembered Amelia. But now they had newer cases. Louder cases. Cases with fresh blood. Amelia's file collected dust. The urgent label was quietly removed. And just like that, the world stopped searching. 1 year after the divorce, Daniel met someone new. They married quietly. Margaret James visited Daniel less. She blamed the marriage. She blamed Rachel. She never blamed herself. She never showed sadness. To everyone else, she looked normal, put together, strong. She never asked the police for updates. She never joined searches. She never attended vigils. She said, "It's better not to reopen wounds." Nobody questioned that. Not then. Not yet. The neighborhood forgot. Children grew up. New people moved in. Elmwood Lane became just another street. To the world, Amelia James was no longer a story. She was an old headline. A quiet file. A closed chapter. But mysteries don't disappear. They just sleep. And somewhere, Amelia was alive. She had grown taller. She had learned a different name. She had called someone else Mom and Dad. She had no memory of stuffed bunnies or yellow bowls. But sometimes, something felt missing. She just didn't know what. In a silent office years after the disappearance, Someone placed a stamp on a file. Inactive, no new leads. Not solved, not forgotten, just set aside. And when that stamp touched the paper, it felt like the past was being buried. By 2022, Amelia James was a name most people had forgotten. Margaret James had always been in control. She controlled her words. She controlled her emotions. She controlled her family. But in late 2022, that control started to fade. Cancer takes that away. The diagnosis came quietly. No big drama. No warnings. Just a doctor in a white room, speaking softly while Margaret looked at his lips and stopped listening to what he was saying. Cancer stage 4. No cure. No more pretending. The woman who had lived without fear suddenly started fearing time. Fearing silence. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and quiet. Margaret lay in bed, thinner than she had ever been. Her hands trembled a little now. Her breathing came in shallow waves. Tubes ran across her pale skin. She hated looking weak. She hated needing help. But most of all, she hated thinking. Because truth had nowhere to hide in that room. No house to walk around. No polite smiles. Just a ceiling, a bed, and memories. While her world was ending, Daniel sat beside her most evenings. He still called her Mom. He still held her hand. He didn't know why her eyes sometimes filled with tears when she looked at him. Rachel didn't visit. The nurses were strangers. It was just Margaret and the weight of what she had done. The moon's light came through the hospital blinds. The heart monitor beeped like a slow drum. Margaret's voice was weak, but she spoke clearly. "I need to confess," she told the nurse. The nurse stopped what she was doing. "Would you like a priest?" Margaret nodded. And she also asked for someone else. Detective Laura Collins. No one asked questions. People who are dying sometimes ask for strange things. Laura Collins almost didn't go. The case was old. The file was archived. Life had moved on. But something in the nurse's voice made her stop. "She says it's about Amelia James," the nurse said. Silence filled the phone. Laura remembered the stuffed bunny, the open door, the quiet street. She went. Margaret waited until they were both in the room. The priest stood quietly near the wall. Detective Collins stood closer. Margaret's lungs burned. Her voice came out like broken glass. "I did it." The room went still. "I took her," Margaret whispered. There was no anger in her voice. No pride. No justification. Only tired truth. "I couldn't let their marriage survive," she said. "Rachel was destroying my son." Detective Collins didn't react. She just listened. That scared Margaret more. Margaret's hands trembled as she spoke. "I knew Rachel's routine. I knew when she walked away. I knew the door wasn't locked. She had watched from inside her car. The light-colored sedan. The one that haunted the case. I waited down the street," she said. "I watched the house." She timed it. She planned it. She told herself it was for Daniel. That Rachel would leave. The marriage would end. Daniel would come back to her. She walked into the house like she belonged there. Because she did. Amelia didn't scream. Amelia didn't fight. "She trusted me," Margaret whispered. "I drove for hours. Crossed state lines. Turned off my phone. Went somewhere no one would think to look. A distant town. A childless couple. Desperate. Broken. Rich enough not to ask too many questions. I told them she'd been abandoned," Margaret said. "I told them no one wanted her." The words tasted poisonous now. "They cried when they saw her," she said. "They said she was beautiful. They named her something else. They raised her as their own. And I never contacted them again." Detective Collins asked only one question. "Why tell us now?" Margaret looked at the ceiling. "Because I'm about to die," she replied. "And I'm afraid. Afraid of God. Afraid of silence. Afraid of the thing that comes after truth is too late. I can't take this with me," she said. "I see her in my dreams now. She stands at the foot of my bed. She asks me why. The heart monitor beeped faster. The priest whispered prayers. Detective Collins stayed quiet. Her hands were clenched. Years of questions, answered in 10 minutes. Years of searching, ended in one hospital room. Margaret turned her head slowly. "She's alive," she whispered. Detective Collins stepped closer. "Where?" Margaret swallowed. "There's a couple. Far away. Different state. New name." She tried to speak. She tried to remember. The cancer fogged her mind. But pieces came out. Fragments. Town names. Landmarks. A memory of a red post office. A lake. A church near a factory. Enough. More than nothing. Daniel doesn't know yet. He sat in the hallway with a coffee he wasn't drinking. He thought he was losing his mother. He didn't know he was about to get his daughter back. The world sat still outside the hospital. Cars passed. People walked. Nobody knew the truth had just been unlocked. That night, Margaret closed her eyes. Not as a strong woman. Not as a proud woman. But as a woman who had finally told the truth. Detective Collins walked out of the hospital differently than she walked in. She wasn't carrying a cold case anymore. She was carrying a direction, a name, a chance, and the possibility that a girl stolen 10 years ago might still be alive. The search started again. Not in a panic, not in chaos, but with a clear plan. Detective Laura Collins held on to the truth of the dead woman like it was fragile glass. Every word Margaret had said was carefully written down. Every broken memory became a clue. Every place became a lead. A lake. A red post office. A church close to a factory. A different state. A different life. For 10 years, Amelia James had been like a ghost. Now, she was starting to come back to life. Margaret hadn't remembered names, but she remembered details. That was enough. They searched adoption records, not legal ones. The unofficial kind. Private arrangements. Church-based placements. Informal transfers that avoided paperwork. They looked for couples who had suddenly adopted a 2-year-old girl with no birth record. Eventually, a pattern formed. A town in another state. Small. Quiet. Familiar. A couple named Thomas and Evelyn Carter. They had no children on record. Until 2012. Then suddenly, a daughter. Named Millie Carter. Detective Collins felt her breath stop. The Carter house was at the end of a peaceful street. There was a white fence around it. Flowers were growing in the garden beds. The windows were bright with light. It didn't look like a place where something bad had happened. It looked like a home where a family lived. The detectives parked quietly. They didn't use sirens. No lights were flashing. Laura Collins approached the front door. She knocked on it. Evelyn Carter opened the door. Her face was calm, warm, and kind. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm looking for a girl named Millie," Collins said softly. Evelyn stopped for just a moment. It was only a second, but it was enough. They sat at a wooden table. Sunlight spread across the floor. Thomas Carter joined them, looking confused and careful. Detective Collins placed some photos on the table. There was a picture of a toddler with dark curls. Another showed a little girl with eyes that looked familiar. "She used to be called Amelia James," she said. The room stayed quiet. Evelyn's hands started to shake. "She was given to us," she whispered. "We were told she was abandoned. They didn't take her. They didn't run after her. They didn't hurt her. They thought they were helping her. We loved her," Thomas said softly. "We still do. And they really meant it." Millie sat in her bedroom. There were posters on the wall. Books were on the floor. Felt like a normal life. She didn't remember being taken. She didn't remember Rachel. She didn't remember Daniel. She watched the detectives from the hallway. Her heart was racing. Something inside her chest felt strange. Like a door was moving. Not opening. Not closing. Just shaking. Her parents sat her down. There were tears. There were soft voices. There were long pauses. Evelyn said, You were loved before, and you are loved now. She didn't understand. Not fully. How could she? You can't feel a memory that doesn't exist. But her heart felt heavy. Daniel James was in the kitchen when the phone rang. He wasn't expecting anything. Life had been quiet for too long. "Mr. James?" A woman's voice said. "Yes. This is Detective Laura Collins." Silence. "We found her." The world stopped. Daniel couldn't breathe. He held the counter to stay standing. His mind rejected the words first. Then his heart accepted them. "She's alive?" he asked, barely able to speak. "Yes." Daniel sat down slowly. Tears fell before he realized. Across town, Rachel received the same call. She dropped the phone. She fell to her knees. After 10 years of silence, a voice came back. Amelia, now Millie, walked in slowly. She was taller, older and different, but her eyes were the same. Rachel stood first. She didn't run. She didn't rush. She didn't want to scare her. She whispered, "Hi." Amelia nodded. Daniel stood behind Rachel, hands shaking, not sure whether to cry, not sure whether to smile. Amelia studied their faces. Something deep inside her moved, a feeling without a name, like recognizing a song without remembering the words. They talked, slowly, carefully. No pressure, just truth. The Carters weren't treated like criminals, because they really weren't. They were victims of a lie, and they had loved Amelia like she was their own. A decision was made. Amelia wouldn't be taken away from the only life she had ever known. She would be given a choice. Slowly, safely, and freely, she visited Daniel and Rachel. She found out her real name. She listened to stories. She saw pictures. And slowly, the confusion inside her started to clear up. She began dreaming about yellow bowls, stuffed bunnies, a house with lights on the porch. She couldn't stop crying, not because she was sad, but because of the confusion, and because she was healing, all at the same time. Margaret James had died before the truth reached Chicago. She never saw Amelia again. She never asked for forgiveness, but her final act gave life back to the girl she tried to erase. Detective Collins stood at her grave once. She didn't feel anger. She felt the weight of a truth that waited too long. Amelia didn't forget about her second family. She didn't erase them from her mind. She didn't replace them with anything else. Instead, she gained something new. The truth, a story, a history that had been taken away and now came back. Amelia took a walk down Maplewood Lane one evening. It had been 10 years since she vanished. The streets seemed smaller now. The world felt unfamiliar. Daniel walked beside her. Rachel was on her other side. No one held her hand, because she wasn't lost anymore. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you or made you think, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. See you in the next one.